Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us shortly. Before we bring on our first guest, I have a few housekeeping notes. The Black Authors Matter TV award show is next month, and the awards, the voting for the finalists has already started. It started today at midnight, 12:01. And we've already gotten over 500 ballots cast. So people are really getting off to a fast start with their votes. The voting lasts until April 28th. And then the award show, where we announce the winners, is on May 12th. So if you haven't voted, go on the Facebook page and you'll see a video of all of the finalists by category. And you have until April 28th to vote. And you can vote every day if you want, only once per day per IP address. So most people have 3 IP addresses with their laptops, their tablets, and or their phones. So feel free to vote every day if you like for your favorites. So also the National Black Book Festival, our registration is still open. We are at 73% sold in terms of vendor space. So if you want to participate with as a vendor, as an author, a publisher, or a small business, don't delay because the sales are quick, and so we should be sold out by June. And we do a count on the website for the percentage of space that's sold. So you know when you go to it how much time you've got left. Hi Rhonda. We have 73% sold, so that means we've got 27% of our space left. So and also the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards, that process is ongoing. It ends the early part of June. So if you have a children's book, you want to submit it and see if you become a finalist for that or a winner, then go ahead and do that. So we're bringing on our first guest, since we were just talking about children's books and the Children's Book Awards. And our first guest is a prolific children's author. She has a bunch of books, some with the Dr. Seuss connection, a Disney connection. She's got all kinds of stuff. And one book that of hers that I've seen in the on the shelves of the stores, I didn't realize who it was, is she has a book about Simone Biles, the gymnast, and it's called Flying High. So, but she has a bunch of books, and we should have had her on the show before. It didn't happen that way because she has so much writing that she's done. So Michelle Meadows, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Gwen.
Hi. Now, where are you joining us from?
Coastal Delaware.
Oh, you're in Delaware. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
are you near the water? Are you near the beach?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've only been to Delaware once, to Dover Air Force Base years and years ago. One of my best friends was in the Air Force, and I went to visit her on the weekend. So, but other than that, I've never set foot in the state other than that one time. So, it's a small state with a small, probably close knit because the population's so small.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that where you're from?
I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay. Well, Rhonda's in the DMV, and that's where she lives in Maryland. But and I actually went to Georgetown, So I
Okay.
was in DC for those 4 years and then 2 years after graduation. So I spent some time in Washington. Um,
Okay.
it's a lot different now than it was when I was there. So how did you get started with your children's book writing? And then that's part A. And part B,
Okay.
how did you get so prolific with so many books? So many
Okay. So
books. So
yeah.
let's
So how
start.
I got started. Okay. So I've always been a writer. I've loved writing since I was a little girl. So, growing up in elementary school and in high school, I was in the poetry club and writing for the school paper. And then when I went to college, I went to Syracuse University in New York and I did a dual major in journalism and literature. So that's what I mean when I say I was a writer, like lifelong writer.
Mhm.
And then when my husband and I had a son, and he was born in 96. So when my husband and I had a son, and I was reading to him all the time, taking him to the library, just like my mom had done for me, and remembered how much I loved children's books and loved poetry. And that's when I really set my mind on that goal of writing children's books. And then the prolific question is, I think, my earliest children's books, many of them were inspired by my son. So, I feel like ideas are everywhere. And usually it's something that I feel very strongly about, something that I see or something that I experience that I really feel deeply, or even just something that I admire or think is cute. Anything can set me off.
Okay.
So I'm just one of those people that's like always trying to think of new things and always writing, like always writing. So
Do you only have one child?
yes.
Okay. So do I. And my daughter was born in 96.
Oh
So
wow. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So in fact next month she'll be 30.
Okay. Yeah. So
Mhm.
see, mine's right behind you, behind yours.
Oh, okay. Uh, so you have these different titles with different, I guess, imprints or publishers or
Yes.
themes, or how did you maneuver all of that?
Okay. Yeah. So, what happened was with my very first book. So my very first book is called The Way the Storm Stops. And that book, I wrote it in 1999 and it came out in 2003. So that is a book that I sold on my own. And I sent it out through what they call the slush pile, which means you're sending it to editors at different publishing houses and you're not agented. You're sending it out and then hoping that an editor will pick it up, right? So I sent it out to several publishers. My first book, I wrote that book because we had a really bad thunderstorm going on and our house was rocking and shaking. And I wondered what our son, now at the time he was about 2.5. And I wondered what must he be thinking with all of this booming and shaking, right? So I went and I picked him up. I found him in his bedroom, kind of curled up and peeking out from under the blanket. And I scooped him up, brought him back to the rocking chair in our bedroom, and I rocked him and I sang to him. And pretty soon after that, he fell asleep. And I thought, this is the way the storm stops for a small child. Now, the storm was still going on. So I could hear all of the sounds. And so I grabbed a notebook from my notstand and I wrote. And that resulted in my first book, The Way the Storm Stops, which I sent out to several publishers. And a couple of months after that, I got a phone call from an editor at Henry Holt named Christy Ottaviano. This was back in the days when we had like answering machines, good old fashioned answering machines. And, she left me this message saying, I got your manuscript. I love it. Please call me back. And so that is how my first book got published. And then I spent many years after that trying to um, write more books. I just kept writing and writing and got tons of rejection letters and just kept writing and writing. And I got a literary agent. So I got a literary agent, Rosemary Stamola, with the Stamola Literary Student Studio. And so she sold my second book and all my other books. So
Oh,
now I have
wow.
22 books published. And so once I got my agent, I think she was definitely helpful in putting my work in front of publishers.
Oh, wow. So, now you just write the story. You don't
Yes,
do the illustrations. They hire
correct.
they hire an illustrator for that. But
Yes,
the
yes.
storytelling apparently was strong enough. And I like that we just had a storm Sunday and
Oh,
some
did
of
you?
the loudest thunder. I mean, we were just keeping our fingers crossed that we didn't lose power. That's you
Yeah.
know. Um, but that's an interesting take on that. Um that's when the storm stops for a child when they go to
Hmm.
um and pets are frightened by storms
Yeah,
because we have a cat and a dog
yeah.
and
I've had people tell me that, like people have like teachers have let me know that, they've worked with students about that same fear and also about with pets. So that's
mhm.
interesting. Yes.
Yeah, our cat runs and hides under a bed when he hears
Right.
thunder. Our dog just like cries. She whimpers and like
Yeah.
sounds really like a baby almost. Um, but yeah, that and also you realize just how powerless you are as a human when it comes to a thunderstorm or weather in general. You just keep your
Yeah.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed and hope. And we have hurricanes. It was really like almost like hurricane, like it kind of was like that. And
Well, you're powerless, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing that your child feels safe just because she's near you or he's near
Yeah.
you.
He's near. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all you have to do is just wrap your arms around your child. And
Yes.
even though
Yes.
you're scared, your child feels safe. And to me, that has always been a beautiful thing. As long as they're
Yeah.
in your arms,
Yeah.
they feel like everything's going to be okay. And that's the
Yeah.
most beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, what struck me that night. And then also, the feelings of the heart that I felt in that moment about what you
Yeah.
just described. Yeah. Yeah.
so a book can come from just about any experience or anything.
Yes. Yes.
And our children are inspirations for stories. Um, I'm a writer too, and so is Rhonda. So,
Hmm.
um, I a lot of my most successful book was inspired by my daughter, and it's not a children's book. It's about going to college debt free, but it was inspired by my desire for her to go to college debt free, and then um, I just took off from there.
Yeah.
I do it every year. So, um, our children really do inspire us to do things.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's something. So the people you love more than yourself. Um,
Yeah.
so what?
Now,
Tell us some of your. I know you have a Disney connection, and then you also have a
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss connection. So tell us a
Sure.
couple of those titles.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to say, what happened was just before I get to those points, I was going to tell you. So, when in 2015, when my husband and I and our son moved from the DC area to the Delaware Beach area. And so at that time, my son was getting ready to go off to college, and I was really starting to think about what I felt passionate about. And that is how I got into writing biographies, right? So I have three biographies. Um, One, Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, Flying High, the story of gymnastic champion Simone Biles, and also Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues, The Extraordinary Life of James Baldwin. But I mention those to say that writing those books really led me to the Disney opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So um, especially Brave Ballerina and Flying High. So there were some folks with Disney and Marvel because Moon Girl is a Marvel superhero. And so they reached out through Rosemary, through my literary agent, to ask if I would be interested in writing the novelization, which is basically the middle grade novel based on the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated TV show, which is a Disney show. And so they were really, I think what piqued their interest was that I have such a passion for strong Black women, and so that's kind of how the Disney project came to me. And so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is for ages 8 to 12. And the TV show was actually thought up by Lawrence Fishburne. So Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur started in the comic book world. So they're comic books based on those characters. And then Lawrence Fishburne got the idea to create an animated TV show based on those characters. So it features Moon Girl as Lunella Lafayette, who's a 13-year-old Black girl living in the Lower East Side in New York City. And she's a scientist and engineer and does all kinds of projects. Her superpower is her brain. And she accidentally, through a time traveling portal, accidentally brings a dinosaur to New York City. But so Disney and Marvel created the
Accidentally brings a
TV show.
dinosaur. I love that.
Yeah, accidentally.
So
In
it's
her
not
underground lab.
a raptor or, a T-Rex. So it doesn't terrorize New York.
Well, it kind of does, but it all works out. It all works out. The
Okay.
dinosaur is totally lovable.
Okay.
And so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Marvel and Disney came up with the characters, came up with the story for Moon Girl, and then my role was to kind of translate that TV show, the experience of the show, into a book for children, especially focusing on the thoughts and feelings of Lunella Lafayette, who is Moon Girl. So that's how that came about. And then Seuss, the interesting thing about Seuss is that because I've written a lot, not all, but most of my books are rhyming books. And I've always been interested in poetry and stories in rhyme and that lyrical kind of musical quality of language. And so as I mentioned, I've been working with my literary agent for many years. And so I wrote this book, a picture book called How to Love a Pony, which is a rhyming picture book about a little girl named Lily who lives on a horse farm. And the book introduces kids to concepts about horses and like that kind of relationship between a child and a pony. And it was inspired by a horse, or I should say a pony that my grandfather brought from the side of the road when me and my cousins were young. And so he got this pony for all the cousins to enjoy. And I had forgotten it. And so just kind of thinking about memories, and that's another great way to come up with story ideas, is that I often kind of keep track of really nice, positive memories from childhood. And I had remembered that our grandfather had this pony, and I checked with my cousin to see, is this memory correct? And she said yes. So I wrote How to Love a Pony in rhyme, and Rosemary sent it to the Seuss imprint of Random House. And so that's how I got my very first Dr. Seuss beginner book. And then from there, I wrote 3 more. So in addition to How to Love a Pony, after that, I wrote How to Love a Kitten, which is about the same little, the same girl, the same family with the farm, and how and that one was inspired by me when I was younger. Me and the guy who did our yard, he really found it, but found a cute little heap of kittens under our porch. So I had How to Love a Pony, How to Love a Kitten, and then I wrote 2 other Dr. Seuss books that are nonfiction rhyming books. And so one of those is all about sea creatures, what humming fish wish, how you can help protect sea creatures, and then green machines and other amazing eco inventions. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, and you actually already answered it, but I'd love for you to expand on it. But as a children's author, how you were tapped to write memoirs or biographies, but it seems that the biographies that you were writing were really more geared toward a younger audience.
Yes. The earlier one.
So,
So I would say, now, Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, that's a book, that's an idea that I came up with because I was taking a ballet class. And it was right after we moved to Delaware. And I started taking a ballet class. And while I was taking that class, I started researching Black ballet dancers
mhm.
and then came across Janet Collins' story and really wanted to write a book about her. Okay, then that was illustrated by Ebony Glenn, and she does like really fantastic artwork. And so then that book came out in 2019. And then I thought of the idea of writing a picture book about Simone Biles. That was during the 2016 Olympics, is when I was thinking about it. When I was like mesmerized, like the rest of the world, looking at Simone Biles. And so I wrote Flying High, the story of Simone Biles. I hope it kind of in a similar style to Brave Ballerina, and hoping that Ebony Glenn would illustrate, and she did. So I had those two books were ideas that I came up with, right? These were things that were interesting to me. And then because I wrote Brave Ballerina and Flying High, an editor at HarperCollins, a wonderful editor named Luana Corey, approached me. Again, she came through my literary agent, through Rosemary, and she asked if I would be interested in writing the biography on James Baldwin. So Brave Ballerina and Flying High were definitely younger,
Okay.
completely rhyming book. And then when Luana talked with me about writing a picture book biography about the first, by the way, I should say, the first picture book biography on James Baldwin, and I immediately said yes, because I was, very interested in being able to research a writer's life like James Baldwin. But so James Baldwin is a little bit older. And Luana even said to me, because she said, I really like Brave Ballerina and Flying High. And she said, but you can't do this book in rhyme. And I knew that the story of James Baldwin, in all of its complexities, in all rhyming story wouldn't work. Like I knew that. So, but I did sneak in a rhyme in the very beginning when I said, home is brick brown, Harlem uptown, trains rumbling by. So I snuck in a rhyme. But James, the Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues is a little bit older and definitely longer, very complex story. And my goal though was to still be poetic, like really make it very lyrical and poetic.
Well, you two things that you really brought to light. Well, more than two, but the two that stand out for me is one is the importance of ideas, chronicling your ideas for a book, because just one little seed can
Yeah.
blossom into a whole series of books, or
Hmm.
just one great book. And the importance of having a literary agent that's really in your corner. You've had the same one for a long time, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been
And
like
that says a lot about you and that agent, that you've been able to establish that type of longevity, long relationship.
Yeah, I really do appreciate her. Rosemary, she's a person who she used to be a children's book seller, and she became an agent and really, she also taught children's literature. And so, what I like about having an agent is you do have that sounding board. You do have that person to, you could talk with them about your next idea. You could talk with them about your goals. You could talk with them about what they recommend for you based on your interests. But I like having someone. I feel I'm very pro agent because I feel like editors, as much as we love them, and editors are so talented, but they come and go. They come and go. I've had so many editors over the course of my career. So I always tell Rosemary, you're my constant. Like you are my constant. So I definitely appreciate the role of an agent and recommend it. Yeah.
Now, have you ever thought about writing an adult books?
You know, no, I haven't. Really, I feel that um children's books are a really good fit for me. I joke and say that I have like the brain of a 5-year-old, but um one of the things that I really like about writing is looking at like complex material and breaking that down and making it accessible for young readers.
Okay.
So I really like to work on projects where kids are, that help kids learn to read. Um, I really love children's poetry, and I like the idea just of being part of kind of early literacy, like an advocate for early literacy. And so I guess Moon Girl, now I do have, so the few projects that are older. So we talked about Moon Girl, and that's 8 to 12. And then I also did a book with Misty Copeland called Black Ballerinas. So after I wrote Brave Ballerina, the story of Janet Collins, an editor from Simon and Schuster approached me and asked, would I be interested in, providing some research and writing support for a project that Misty Copeland was working on called Black Ballerinas, My Journey to Our Legacy. And I mentioned that too because that is a book that adults love. Like it is a children's middle grade book.
Okay.
It profiles 27 ballet dancers of color. And it was like so much fun to research all of these dancers' lives because when I wrote about Janet Collins, I came across so many other dancers and I thought they all need a book. So like I was really excited to work on Misty's book and she tells like really wonderful personal stories about her relationships with the dancers and her experience with them. And I was able to research a lot of facts about how the dancers got into ballet, what kind of factors influenced them, and that sort of thing. So that one kind of felt like adult-like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I do think I have a strong commitment to children's literature. That's where my
Well,
heart is.
yeah,
Yes,
well,
and if that's where
clearly,
your heart is, so stick with it, girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
clearly,
yeah.
as you're very prolific in that space, and you a lot of the things that you talk about are kind of ordinary things, but you turn it into a lyrical story for children, like How to
Yeah,
Love a Pony. Like now,
right.
when the pony was on the side of the road, it wasn't in Washington. So where were you? I wanted to ask you
No,
about
so right, so no, my grandfather, and this is my mom's parents, had a farm in North Carolina.
that. Okay, what part of
Yeah,
North Carolina
a
do you remember?
small town. Yeah, it was a small town called Woodland, North Carolina. Woodland, North Carolina.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
have
I've heard
North
of
Carolina
Woodland.
roots. That's why I was asking. But no, I never heard of Woodland.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I have roots in small towns near Durham.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so because I was the pony brother, so I knew it wasn't in Washington. That's what I was.
Right.
So anyway, Michelle, tell our audience how they can connect with you on social media, or you have a website, and
Yeah.
also Rhonda will probably put some of this in the
I,
chat.
I already did. I
Okay, yeah, that's what
already
she does.
did.
And
Thank you. I was gonna say, yeah, my website's michellemeadows.com. And
Yes.
then I'm on Instagram and also YouTube with Michelle Meadows Book.
okay, well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for your next release, but congratulations on just your success in that children's lane.
Thank you.
And you've done so much writing. More people need to know about you, and a lot of people know about you, but even more people need to know about you.
I appreciate that.
So thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Have a good
Okay,
night.
Thank
have a
you.
good
Have a
night.
great night.
So Rhonda, I was at the top of the show, I was telling people that the voting for the Black Authors Matter TV Awards started
Yes.
at midnight, and the ballots are really coming in fast. They come in a lot quicker. It's interesting to see the difference between the first round of voting and when it narrows it down to the finalists, and one of those people will be the winners. People really spread the word, and we appreciate it because we want to have a lot of participation. Um, the winners in each category, sometimes it's a surprise and sometimes it's not. But the thing about our awards is that people who are not well known do have an opportunity to win if
Right.
if they encourage their friends to vote for them. So and a lot, it's about 50-50, in terms of who wins each category. The well-known, greater known authors win
Well,
about half of them.
I just hope that people are taking this time to not just say, hey, y'all vote for me, but give people a reason to vote for you. This is a good time to be promoting your books, to really increase your presence on social media, um, to really increase your book's presence. So this should be a really good promotional opportunity for yourself and for your books. So don't just take this as a time to say vote for me. Just really use this as a time to really get yourself out there and increase your presence.
And for Lisa Smith, we didn't get a chance to ask her, are her books in schools, but I'm sure they are, because
I'm
her
quite
books
sure they
are
are.
pretty prolific everywhere. So our next guest is a romance author, and we're going to be giving away a copy of her. This is an advanced copy of her book, but the book is out now. And her name is now, is it pronounced Reese or Riss? Oh, unmute.
Hi, it's Riss.
Hi, Riss. Okay, just wanted to make sure. We have a galley for The Bridge Back to You, which is your new book that came out March 31st. And we have a trivia question related to the book that we will say at the top, because what happens if we wait till later? The author ends up spilling the beans.
Right.
The conversation.
I don't want to spill no beans.
So we ask trivia questions based on the book itself, and it's based on what's on the synopsis. So the trivia question for this book is, where are we? Oh, Olivia, this is The Bridge Back to You by Rhys Neilson. And Olivia, the book's main character, is a successful what in terms of her profession? So what is Olivia's profession? So the first person to answer that question will get their copy of The Bridge Back to You mailed to you. And if you're not one of our regular viewers that's already received a book, you'll need to DM us your mailing address if you win. So anyway, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I love
We're
your
happy to
hair.
have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a second day hair, so it's,
So
I'm loving the throw, by the way. It's just filling
yeah,
up the screen.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I just cut it recently. It was like it was like so big, and I was like, I gotta cut it a little bit so it could just, my curls were like I don't know.
So now, is this your debut book or no?
No, no. I have three other books before this book. So
Okay, I wasn't
it's
for sure.
yeah, no. I
Mhm.
have three other books. My debut adult came out in 2024. That's A Love Like the Sun. And then I
Okay,
have two young adult books.
okay. And are they all in the romance lane, the genre, romance genre?
No, no. A Love Like the Sun, the other romance novel, the one that came out in 2024, that one's romance. And then the other two are young adult, like magical realism, fantasy vibes. So
Okay, okay. Yeah, that fantasy category is really growing, especially among young writers and readers.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I feel like young adult is like fantasy is like a good space for young adult. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, do you have an idea of why that might be? Like,
Um,
what made the is the are things in films kind of driving it? Is that like the catalyst, or is it the other way around? Or the books driving it toward films, or what do you think about that?
I
Fantasy.
definitely think that books drive films, in my opinion. You know, I think there's a ton of adaptations and like so many, right? So many fantasy books, especially even Fourth Wing, Michael B. Jordan's doing Fourth Wing, which is like a fantasy series, and that was a book originally. So I feel like books are definitely driving TV and not the other way around, in my opinion. But I think that fantasy has always been pretty big, especially in young adult, because the imagination, right? Like imagination is like more peak at that time. I love reading fantasy as an adult, but yeah, I think it's even bigger. I think that I don't know, we're starting to see like a trend where contemporary romance and contemporary books don't do as well with young adults for some reason. So, or are not doing as well right now. So,
Okay, so is there such a genre as a romantic fantasy?
yes, yes, there is. It's called romantic.
Romantic.
Yep. It's called,
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know.
it's so hilarious that you said that because I'm like, it's just put together. It's just romantasy. It's called now.
Yes.
So,
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
Rhonda knew about it, but I didn't.
yeah.
I be knowing. I be knowing.
I
Rhonda,
know,
Rhonda, you're in there knowing. You're like,
right?
Because I feel like romantasy is really big right now because it's like it's fantasy, but it's really sexy, like especially in the
Okay.
adults.
Right.
Romantasy is really big in the adult space right now. Like, so yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I don't read fantasy, so whatever's happening in the fantasy lane, I don't hear the news. I don't unless I pursue it. I have to really be
You have
looking
to,
for information. But I don't because I don't hear about it. But I have noticed just from doing the show, we get more and more fantasy authors on. And so you're doing romance and fantasy. That's what made me even ask the question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. I really want to do like a romantasy, but it's just like my contracts be tight, so it's hard to just do whatever you want, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
romantasy is like the reason why is because I have adult contracts. So it's hard with adult because romantasy I feel like does better with adult, right? Like you want to see like the daggers to the throat, like enemies to lovers style, but make it sexy. You know what I'm saying for the adults? So yeah.
So it's not like what is it, S&M or D&M or whatever. It's not like that.
B&M.
I don't know. I forgot
Wait,
what the acronym is.
wait,
I
what's that?
S&M.
no,
That's
I said S&M, but there's a D too because I saw an episode of something where D was part of it.
I don't know what the D&M is. Do
Okay.
you know what D&M is, Riz?
I saw
no,
an
Rhonda,
episode
I
of
do not know.
something on
That
streaming
sounds like something
where
nasty. I probably don't need to know. I might be too young for that one.
Are you talking about like BDSM?
I
yes,
think that's what she means.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, like
yes.
time.
I told you it was a D in it.
Yeah, you was right. BDSM. I think that's like tying them up and all that, like all that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's like on Law and Order, the SVU Law and Order. those episodes. I stopped watching it because it just got too weird. But there is a market for that. Well, like the 50 Shades of Grey was kind of, it wasn't fantasy, but well, it was that.
But it was huge though. It was
It
like
was huge. And
huge.
I read something recently that said, what is one of the worst written best-selling books? And they did like a survey, and that was that was the book. This is recent, like on my Google alerts for literature or books or bookstores or anything having to do with books. It came up on one of those. Like
that is hilarious. I have also heard that. I only read, I think, a little bit of it when I was like younger, but I have also heard that like very popular, badly written, supposedly. But I'm like, I'm not gonna trash any authors. That author paid for, like, I think when their book came out, it was like, I remember like my mentor was at the same publishing house, and literally that book's sales paid for everyone's like everyone that year for their advance that year. That's how big the book was. So it's
yeah,
like
I remember going into Barnes and Nobles, and there was a line of middle-aged women wanting to get books.
Get tired of it.
I was like, wow, she tapped into something.
You do what you have to do.
Huh?
You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
You do what you gotta do, right? I honestly feel like compared to all the dark romance now, like that's nothing. Like, I'm just like, so much dark romance out there.
Well, what's going on in your book, ma'am?
So my book is about, wait, I'm not supposed to spoil it, right? Because someone's
well, don't spoil it, but you can tell us about it.
We've already asked the question. And Rhonda normally keeps track of whoever. Oh yeah, Tony Benita won the book, so we've already resolved that.
Okay. All right. So the Bridge Back to You is about exes who inherit a restaurant after a decade apart. So basically there's a bunch of like forced proximity. One of them is a private chef. Olivia is a private chef, a personal chef. She travels a lot, and Carmelo works at the restaurant that she just got some shares of, and he's been working there since he was a teenager. His mom owned the restaurant. He's also a single dad, so we love some single dad, at least I do, representation. I feel like we don't see a lot of, in romance novels, we don't see a lot of like kids, like it's not like a ton of things. So I really like it. They're, not in their early 20s and stuff. So that's nice. And I really love it. It's just like so much food, so much of Rhode Island. I grew up in Rhode Island. I love this little state. So yeah, I don't know. I love these babies there. It's like, this is the finished copy, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks the same.
Yeah, it does.
It just doesn't have the uncorrected proof mark on there.
Yeah, it actually looks so much like they did such a good job with the ARC. They did such a good job. So yeah,
I like the colors.
You like the colors? Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I think the colors are really cute. I'm like, it pops.
It looks like a sunset.
Yeah, it does. It's really pretty. And this bridge on the book is a real bridge in Rhode Island. It's a real bridge in Providence.
Oh, so, okay.
I like that part too. And
okay, you know what? She was a featured author at the festival. Hillary.
Which one?
Rhonda. Hillary from Fresh Prince.
Oh yeah. What's her real name?
What's her name? I can't think of it right now. But she was from Providence.
Really?
She came from Providence to the festival.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But you know who was from Rhode Island? Viola Davis.
Oh, wow. Okay. That little state. It's birth.
Oh yeah. You've got to read her memoir. It starts off very heartbreaking.
I
haven't read it yet. Is it really good though?
It's very good, but it starts off quite heartbreaking.
I've heard that. That's why I haven't read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get so sad like when it's real. Like,
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I'd rather read a made up story that's sad than read a real life story that's sad.
same,
Yeah.
You know.
same.
Um, but I've heard really good things about the book. And then she is doing that co-author project with
Yeah,
James
the
Patterson.
one with James Patterson.
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
is? I had no.
Yes, it just came out
Yeah,
recently.
she co-authored a book with James Patterson, and she is the one who narrates the audiobook.
Oh, oh, I had no idea. I gotta look that
Yeah,
up.
it's called Judge Stone. I'm
Judge
actually
Stone.
listening to it now. It's very good.
Oh, look at you, Rhonda, on top of everything. You're like,
I've
I
been
read
telling y'all.
on top of everything. You're like, I'm listening to it. I love audiobooks. Do you love audiobooks? How do you feel about
I'm an audiobook girly.
me too?
She's the audiobook girly.
Yeah.
Me too.
Mhm.
What about you, Gwen?
Oh,
Are
you're
you
an audiobook girly too?
I am too, yeah, just because it's so much easier to get like you could be doing the dishes, you could be like
Yeah.
running around your house, you get like when I'm outside taking walks, like I just get so
Yeah.
many more hours in doing that than physical. Plus, I have ADHD, so like I just struggle like sitting there with the book, it's like it's a struggle, but when you put it in your ear and you're just like running around, like I feel like it's so much easier. What
Yeah.
about you? Why do you like it?
Same. Because I'm very busy. I do a lot during the day. I have a day job, I have two podcasts, I have a business. It's really hard for me to sit down and read a book because I'm always busy. So
Mhm.
I like to when I'm driving, I listen to an audiobook. When I'm exercising, I listen to an audiobook. Sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I'll put my audiobook on 30 minutes and I'll listen to it as I'm getting ready to fall asleep. That's the way I get my book reading in. It's very hard for me to sit down and relax with a book. Now, when I'm on the airplane, that's when I sit down and I'll read a book.
That's the
Um,
yeah.
or when I'm waiting for like when I'm at the DMV or something, like when I'm just
When you have
waiting.
a wait.
When you're
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like they're a blessing. I literally have been telling people I'm like they are a like thank God for audiobooks because I feel like I would barely be reading right now with how busy I am too. So how do you do it, Gwen?
I am a physical book person. I had the Kindle for a while and I went back to physical books.
Oh, you couldn't
It's
do the
just
Kindle either?
no,
I can't do the Kindle.
I, I felt like I needed the tactile experience of having the book. And I've been an avid reader all my life since 3, 4 years old. But um I haven't gotten into the audiobook thing yet. I hear that is the narrator really makes a difference.
That's
Oh,
true.
oh
Mhm.
my gosh, yes. I feel like a bad narrator could like to me it's like a bad not bad, but like a bad to you, right? Because everything is perception based. Some people love certain narrators and some of them I'm like also you have to like figure out the speed too with certain narrators, I feel like, because some of them talk really, really slow. So you have to speed it up and like some of them talk too fast. So you can't it's a whole thing. But I do feel like some narrators really make like they really bring the book alive too. So like there's bad things, but there's also like really good things where a good narrator will be like you'll see everything. They'll just like bring the book to life. And I love that so much.
Do you have certain narrators whose voice just gets on your nerves?
Um, I do. I can't think of their names right now. I can think of
Yeah,
certain.
don't say their names
Don't
because
say
some
their
people
name.
might like them.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But how about you?
Their
Do you?
income.
Yeah, there's a certain male narrator. Every time I hear his voice, it's not he doesn't have a horrible voice. It's just I think if I were dating him, it would get on my nerves because he sounds very condescending.
Okay, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
How do
like
you
it.
imagine dating a narrator? This is the one book that I did try to listen to. I think it was like it sounded like a computer generator AI. It wasn't a human voice, I don't think. So it put me to sleep. And so I couldn't every time I tried, like even just like 2, 3 pages from the book, it would lull me to sleep. And see,
That's
I
it.
read at night. I read like it's reading is my time before bed most of the time. It's a couple of hours before I go to sleep. So a book can put me to sleep too, because if I'm really sleepy, I could be reading and then I drop the book. So that's when
Just drop
that's,
it.
that's when okay, time to go to sleep. But I'm gonna try. I've heard so much about different narrators, and so I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna research narrators and try again.
I think research narrators, and I also think like you really got to get something really interesting for your first one. And that's my, you know what I mean? Like I feel like you can't just go into it. Like you might have to like switch up the genre, like something like that, because you really, and I also think reading like listening before bed, I know Rhonda does it like to fall asleep, but I do feel like it puts you to sleep. So I think
Okay, yeah, see,
maybe you should try it in the car or something. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
no, my car is reserved for music.
Okay,
I
I get
listen
that.
to nothing else in my car but
I
music.
get, what about dishes?
I don't wash that many dishes because I believe in using paper, and so my
Okay.
dishwashing is 5 to 10 minutes. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. So
It
honestly,
takes me a little short time to wash them up, so that wouldn't work. And so, and I have a dog, but our dog is outside, so I don't really walk her.
yeah.
And I don't have a commute. I'm like 10 minutes from my office, so
Okay.
I don't have that.
You're a physical book girly because
Yeah,
that,
Yeah, she's always going to be a physical book girly.
yeah,
But now, what, Rich,
that's a
when do
good
you
thing.
get your writing in?
So usually I have teenagers, but so it's
You
not
have
like,
teenagers?
yeah,
You're a
I do.
teenager yourself.
I do. I am 30, I'm gonna be 38 next week.
Wow. Okay,
Mhm.
girl.
yeah. I would have
Yeah,
never guessed that.
Me
yeah.
neither.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I yeah, I have two teenagers, but but I still try to like get my writing done like as a work day while they're in school. You know, I try to use like that 6 hours,
Okay.
kind of like five, because once you get settled in to like write during the week. And then sometimes I get to write on the weekends too. But usually I write while they're in school. Because after school it's still the same thing. Like even though they're big, it's still like sports and you know what I'm saying, driving
Yeah.
them here and there, cooking, all the
Yeah.
things. So it's really hard for me to get the nighttime hours in. But I try to make it like a schedule during the day. And it usually works out for me to do it like that. Sometimes it's hard, easier said than done, you know, because when you can't write, you can't write. So the writer's block hits and then you have to figure out a different situation. But that's usually what it is.
Yeah. It's hard to force writing. It,
Yeah.
it needs to flow.
Yeah. And
It
that's
needs
true.
to be
But
coming out.
even when I force myself, I give myself credit. If I get two sentences in, that's two more sentences that I would have been able to get if I hadn't done anything.
Oh,
That's true. But do you go back and like rewrite
Oh, I
those
might go back
later?
and fix it, but at
Okay.
least I was able to
Okay.
get the two
You got
sentences
something
in.
out. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like, are you both like hard? Are you easy on yourself? Are you hard on yourself? Like writing? Like, what's the,
In terms of
I don't know. Like, I feel like, because I agree with the two sentences thing. I'm just kind of like, I remember somebody saying something like, oh, even if you write 50 words, like, that's 50 more words. And if they just keep on building up, like, eventually you'll have a book, right? Versus, like, if you just do nothing at all, you're never gonna
right,
have
or
it.
if you're
Well,
waiting till you
I
have a
believe in that.
thousand words,
Yeah.
Well, no,
Um,
I believe in that. I feel like sometimes and I tell this to my clients. I'm a book coach, and I say often we wind up waiting for the moment to be just right. We wait until we have what just the right candle. We wait until we have just the right music playing. We want to wait until we have um just the right amount of hours and the stars to be aligned. And we wait for all that time. And then all of a sudden, all this time has passed, a year has gone by, we've not written nary a word. But if you just write a little bit here, a little bit there, use your phone and use the voice app if you have to, the voice recording app if you have to, just get it in where you can fit it in. Even if it's just a little bit, give yourself some grace.
Yes.
And then by the time you actually do have that big chunk of writing and the stars are aligned the way you want them to be, you'll have a lot written. You'll have some progress.
Yeah.
And then you're not starting from scratch.
I, I'm sorry, that's my dog. I feel like I feel this exactly because there is nothing like having the foundation, like the base of it, and just like having something to go off of. Because I feel like that's why editing is so much easier than writing, because you just need like words on the page. So doing a
Yes.
little bit at a time, it's actually wild. One of my friends is a cardiologist. Her name is Charlene Abobi, and she is a cardiologist, and she wrote one of her entire books on her phone. Like, and it's published now. Like the whole book, she wrote it on her phone, like in work, like just like
I've
went down
heard
the
about
hallway.
people doing that. I could never do that, but I am with Rhonda on like when I'm writing a book, I'll have periods where I'm sitting down and I'm okay and say I'm working on it now. But then I'll be reading something else, watching a TV show, or just working around the house and something will come to me. And I'll sit down on my laptop and put that on the, put whatever the idea is down. So I position it later on, but I at least have it there because the older you get, the more you forget things.
Yeah, so
And they might come back. You're not there yet, Riz, but they might come back, but then again, they might not. And then when they come back, it might, who knows when it'll be. So it's better to get them down
yeah,
as the ideas come. Because sometimes the one little nugget, it can really be prolific. I mean, well, it can be life changing. It can be something like a real light bulb moment, and you don't want to lose it. And it can be something that'll really make your story pop. Like the catalyst for so many other things.
I agree. You know, when they come out of nowhere too, like sometimes
Yes.
the worst ones for me are the ones that I have like when I wake up to go to the bathroom, like pee in the middle of the night or something. You know what I'm saying? But like those are the worst ones because I'll be so tired and I'll be so lazy to write it down. And then the next day I'm like, I know I had something good, but I do not remember it. You know?
I use
Or like,
sticky notes. I use sticky
yeah.
notes to great effect for that. I have sticky notes in every room. I have a sticky notepad in every room.
Near your bed
Just
too.
for that.
Yeah.
And
See,
even if I can just write a little bit of it, it doesn't have to be the whole thing. Just something so you won't forget what it was.
exactly. Like even like a couple of words, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? You could just
Yes.
jog your memory. I feel like in the shower too, like sometimes like just being under the water, you know what I'm saying? Like something about it. They always say like stuff like that. But I definitely agree that a little thing, a little idea could make your story so much better, or it can make it come alive, or suddenly you can have an idea that you didn't have before. A scene can come to you and it could just be like, wow. And it does feel like that magic light bulb moment. So I love that you write everything down. I definitely need to get better at that. I need to like carry around some sticky notes because I feel like that's a good idea. Just like having them in every room and being able to jot them down real quick.
It's
You know?
interesting. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I don't use my phone. I use my phone. When I use my phone for notes is at church. Sometimes something will come to me during the church service and I really don't have my sticky notes. So that's when I have to put it in my phone.
Yeah. You're like, this is the time. This is the only time.
so now is this a standalone book?
It is a standalone book, but in this book, there's characters from my first book, From a Love Like the Sun, because they're in the same universe. So
Okay.
yeah, they're in the same universe, but it's a standalone for sure. Like you could read either one without reading the other, but they are like the first book's characters are in this one. So yeah.
Okay. And so for your next book, will it be a romance or a fantasy?
So fingers crossed, like I don't know what's going on with that right now. Like please pray for me that something goes on. But like I'm writing a fantasy thing, but I have also written adult romance already. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Like hopefully I sell it. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
And
romantasy. Isn't that what y'all
no, I am working on I am working on a romantasy. I am, but that's not the one. Like I have a regular romance too, like a contemporary romance that I wrote, but I am working on a romantasy and I'm excited about it, but we'll see. It's so hard to tell because I'm like between contracts, so I don't have anything right now, but fingers
Okay.
crossed I'll be able to announce something soon.
Okay. Well, Tony Bonita won the copy of the book based on the trivia, so we're going to be sending Tony. She's a regular viewer of the show, and a frequent book winner when we have them to give away.
I hope you like it, Tony.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and congratulations on your latest release.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this time with you both. It was so good. Thank you for
Oh,
having
we
me.
enjoyed you. Thank you so much. Come back soon.
Oh yeah. Look, let's hope I can announce something and I will be back. But
Okay. Okay. Have a great night.
you too. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, we're moving right along. Rhonda, I learned some new things today. And
Well, so did I, D&M.
uh, well, I was close. So Tony Benita said Ron Butler is a good narrator. So I'll look up his name and see if I can find what he
I like
narrated.
Dion Graham. I think he's a good narrator.
Dion Graham. Okay. See, I don't and audiobook narrators are starting to get like celebrity status, almost like authors now.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that it's almost like how DJs used to be. Radio
Right.
DJs, because of their voices, used to be like
True.
that. Now it's the audiobook narrator. So our next guest is a bookstore owner. We have bookstore owners on the show from time to time. And his bookstore is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it has an interesting title for his bookstore. It's the Young Dreamers Bookstore. So um,
Hello.
hello, Dr. Griffin-El. I'm not going to try to pronounce your first name. I'll let you present it, and because I don't want to mess it up. But
Yes, ma'am.
welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, I've followed you all before I received the email, so it's an honor and pleasure to be in dialogue with you all. My first name is Nosakhere. It means God's way is the only way, or he who God has ordained in the Edo language, which is in Nigeria. So yes, that's my first name, and then Griffin-El.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad that our work is getting around, and more people are hearing about it. So we're and I don't know if we've had a store from Pittsburgh on before. We've had many bookstore owners, but I don't remember. Rhonda might remember if we've had someone from Pittsburgh, but I don't think. I know we've had people
I
from
don't think
Philly.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had Philly, but not Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm
So,
from Philly, so
oh, okay.
So there
so
you go.
you get the best of both worlds. You get me physically in Pittsburgh, but from Philadelphia.
Okay. So how old is your bookstore?
So we're walking into our fifth year. My wife and I, we co-founded the bookstore. Uh, our, like my kids say, our origin story goes all the way back to our son who had a speech delay. And long story short, we spoke to a speech pathologist, and I was like, "Hey, what can I do at home?" And he said a simple word: read. And as a PhD graduate from the University of Pittsburgh, I also participated in Philadelphia Freedom Schools. I just got as many books as I could get, both from my mom, who's a former librarian, and I went to the local library and just read both my oldest son, who was 3 at the time, and my youngest son, who was around 1.5. I read them 10 books a day, 50 books a week. By the time this is from summer to winter, I read them over 800 books, my wife and I. And one of the things that my sister-in-laws would always do, they would say, "Hey, why don't you write book reviews? Why don't you just write a review on the good books that you read to the boys?" And I was like, I'm not doing that because I don't think anyone's going to read that. So, nope, I'm good. And so they kept on encouraging. My wife was like, "You should do it." So one day during Thanksgiving, I sat in a chair and I just put out a little Facebook post about a really amazing book that's out of print now, about a little black boy who's a superhero, goes into the future. There's no plants, and he basically brings seeds from the past into the future and grows this beautiful, luscious forest, if you may. And I was like, this is a great book. And People started to like it, started to share it. All of a sudden, I get 80 likes, which I tended only to get 80 likes when I post something about my kids and my wife. So I was like, oh my gosh. So it was an amazing experience, and that led me to write more reviews, start a book club, host story times at the library, and we were really picking up momentum. Fast forward, pandemic happens, we go back into the house. Everybody does for a couple of years, and towards the end of the pandemic, I did a professional development for PwC. I got a honorarium, and with that honorarium, my wife and I we use that as seed money to start our bookstore. Now, I say seed money because I was a stay-at-home dad, so my wife would say, "All right, we're gonna buy $100 worth of books, so figure out how we can make this stretch." And this was like December. By the spring, we had a closet full of books, and now we had to go and sell them. So our first pop-up, our first pilot was at the August Wilson Block Party in Pittsburgh. And we went there with 4 boxes of books and left with just a fourth of one box. So we said, wait, we got something here. So we just kept on investing, flipping the money, and eventually we became a staple in the community. We won a couple of awards. One award was from the Pittsburgh Pirates going to bat for small business. So we were recognized as one of the top small businesses in the Pittsburgh area. And I could go on and on about other awards that we have won, but our main focus wasn't to sell books, to be honest with you. Our mission is to meet kids at their dreams and their reading needs. Meaning, if a kid has, if we start with what a kid doesn't like or what a kid cannot do, that's the deficit model. Kids won't pick up a book. I don't care how amazing it is. But if we start with saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your dream? And when kids say, oh, I want to be 1, 2, and 3, and then we pick out a book and say, this book right here speaks to that.
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, we don't have a customer. We have a kid who constantly wants his grandparents, his parents, his community members to invest in their dreams, not necessarily buy them a book, but invest in their dreams. And so our mission is to meet kids at their dreams and their reading needs.
Hence the name of your store.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, that's a great story.
It is a great story. It's just something that you happened upon. You weren't even trying. It was something that basically found you.
How about that? I was a trained academic, and so in my time as a stay-at-home dad, I was constantly trying to figure out how do I get back to that tenure track, school of education, job as a professor of educational philosophy. But as my grandfather told me before he passed away, he would always say, this is a calling, son. He would say, you're going to wind up seeing why God made you, put you in this position. And you're going to be able to really make an impact in the world. And so I don't take this lightly. Like I said, I don't see myself as just a person who owns a bookstore or a bookseller or whatever they want to call it. I see myself as an educator who uses specifically picture books to inspire not just children, but their families to, in lack of a better word, see books as tools to build their dreams.
And I think another sign that this was something you were meant to do is that your family supported you. You mean you got this money, and the first thing you said that your wife did was buy more books. She poured right back into this vision, and not everybody does that, and not everybody has somebody who will be willing to pour back into the vision. So was this something that she supported from the very beginning, or was she like, you want to do what?
No, well, no, so my wife, she's a professor of entrepreneurship. We met at the University of Pittsburgh, and so we were always dreaming out loud as graduate students.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we were always like, we want to change the world, and we would turn to look at each other and realize that we were the only crazy two who really believed this. So on one hand, she held values of wanting to change the world. Now, of course, uh, what do they say? We're one flesh. So our journey is together, but we have merged our particular purposes in this bookstore to now reach greater audiences in different ways. I give you an example. Someone asked me a couple of years ago, they said, could you do something around entrepreneurship with kids? Because we have this thing called Musa on Main Street. So all the kids are going to create a business. And at the end of the summer, we're going to have like a little like mini lemonade stands or whatever business they create. We're going to have like little stands where they could talk about their business. And I said, of course. So my wife and I, we co-taught a what we call a parent lab. And when I say these kids had amazing ideas and their parents had amazing ideas. But here goes the catch-22. We were able to find books that specifically spoke about entrepreneurship. And we were able to read those books, give these, well, the organization purchased the books to give away to the kids. And at the end of the summer, they were actually able to use those books as a guiding, like I said, a tool to actually build their fictitious business that hopefully when they get older, they'll pursue it. But the goal isn't necessarily for them to pursue the vision now. The goal is for them to experience something that will inspire them to do greater things in the future. So to answer your question, she has always been a supporter, even when we were graduate students together. And her investment in the store was also an investment in our purpose as a family.
That's wonderful.
I was making a couple of notes just because what you said, three things in your background parallel mine or our families. Is
Yes,
so one, I'll do the first one you mentioned was that you did something at PwC.
Right.
And my daughter, that was her first real job.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a good real job.
She interned there, and then they hired her after the internship, after she went to graduate school. They guarantee you a job after they tell you you have a job after you finish graduate school, get your master's. So, and it's just, accounting is a 1-year master. So, and she wasn't in Pittsburgh, but she was at PwC. I don't know where you taught when you did the training there, but that's the first one. And the second is that my husband and I had a bookstore for 10 years together.
Wow.
Where the family, he and I both were full time.
Yes.
So that was the second one. And the third one is your entrepreneurship classes for kids, because my 6 children's books are all related to business.
Wow.
I have a 5-part series called Kids Biz that teaches children how to be entrepreneurs. In each book, they learn a different concept or they do a different project to earn money. And then I have a book called Boss Women, which is biographies of 7 African-American women who built their businesses from the ground up. It's a children's book, though. But adults love it. So many adult women buy that book for themselves. That's something that I didn't anticipate. But so, like I said, we have had some. Now I don't. Rhonda's the doctor. I didn't go to. I finished my bachelor's and I was through. But it's in business. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So, my whole adult life.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's a lot of parallels, and congratulations to you and your wife for working together.
Yes. It's
together.
Yeah, and one of the beautiful things is that I'm like I was like I said before, I was an educational philosopher. So, I'm used to being like, let me develop this theoretical idea or this framework. And one of the things that she has always helped me do is to kind of be able to, one, make sure the framework makes sense, and then 2, figure out how we can actually roll this out. So she was always the person, how do you do that? And I'm like, hey, I said it, you know what I'm saying? It can be done, but we're going to have to do that. Oh, okay, well, let's do it then. So it's good to have what I call, beyond a helpmate, but a mind mate and a soulmate, that our work is so interlocked together. When we were professors, because we were professors in South Africa for about 4 years together, and her
Guys
office
are
was right
so
next to the
aligned.
right, right.
Did you
And so
grow up together too?
no, well, no, well, she's from New Orleans. I'm from Philly, and we both
Rodney,
met
Rodney.
what you call at the University of Pittsburgh, and we used to debate. Like I said, we used to stand in front of the library and debate. So we had some old friends come up for a ceremony from one of our professors, and people was like, man, we used to stand out there. Y'all used to always be out there talking. I'm like, yeah. And I was telling my sons, like, see, you see the library? That's where I live. Like, literally. It's like, duh. Boy, I'm trying to tell you, this ain't no joke. You hear what he's saying? I used to live there. One time the librarian told me I need to pay rent there. I said, no, man, that's what tuition is called. So, but yeah, we were so aligned. I could tell you so many stories about that. That's a Disney movie. Or a
Well, it's
Spike Lee movie, I
definitely.
should say, a Spike Lee joint.
Oh,
Or Ryan
yeah,
Coogler joint.
yeah. Nowadays, it's good to
Right,
be aligned,
right.
rather than at cross purposes. So,
Hey,
because
yeah.
that's a disastrous situation.
Mm,
And I had that too. You know,
yeah.
people who watch the show know I was briefly married the first time to
Mm,
someone who wasn't. I shouldn't have been. Let me put it like that. So,
mm,
um, when you can't really be one with somebody if you're going into opposite directions, you're not on the
mm.
same page. It's hard to become one if you're
Right,
not, if you're going like this. If you can see my fingers, y'all are going like this. You
right,
got to be like this to be
right.
one.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
What?
Amen. That's right. That's right. That is, man. Whew.
You mentioned something in your bio information that you sold 20,000 books
Yeah, yeah.
over the course. That's a lot of books.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we partnered with organizations like the Center for Black Educated Development. They have branches, freedom schools all across the country. We partnered with Philadelphia Freedom Schools in Philadelphia. We partnered with the University of Pittsburgh, who bought books to, as they would say, flood the Pittsburgh region with books that are high quality and culturally affirming. So we have been a part of these what we call mega partnerships, where people will buy bulk orders and sometimes the thousands. So
Mhm.
it's been man, it's been a process, because on one hand, people will come to us and say, "This is what we want," and we can order those books for them. On the other hand, we'll have organizations that, especially during the summer season, they'll say, "We want these books, but because the books are popular, they'll run out." So that's where my expertise comes into play. So we have sold over 20,000 books. But going back to my sons, I read them over 2,000 books before they entered into kindergarten. So I have not just a wide understanding of books, but I have a depth of how the books relate to each other. So on our bookstore, we categorize our books based upon what we call dream categories. So we have Love Dreamers, that's our social emotional wellness books. We have Innovative Dreamers, that's our books about STEM and entrepreneurship. We have Bold Dreamers, that's our books about Black history, or biographies about Black heroines and heroes who made the world a better place. We have Learning Dreamer, that's like our board books and our concept books that help kids know the ABCs and the one, two, threes. And then we have our Creative Dreamers, which is about the creative and performing arts. So with all of those different categories and being able to organize books in that manner, if someone says, we need this book about social emotional wellness, and that book sells out, and I'm like, well, this book is like this. However, this is another book that you can replace it with. Now, the themes might be slightly different, but this is how you can connect it to your curriculum. So, yeah, that depth of knowledge as it relates to the books that not only that we sell, but the books that our partners might be interested in. Because as you see, I got a bunch of books. Some of them we sell because they're great. Some of them we hold on to because we know that that's a purchase that a school might buy, not necessarily a parent. And so again, we tend to focus on the depth of our knowledge of books and how they relate to the experiences of the kids and the schools, the families, and what our partners need. So that's why we're able to sell that many books. And
I
then,
think that's something that people forget about is bulk selling.
right,
You know, we as authors, we are so busy concentrating on selling one book at a time,
right,
and going to book festivals or trying to get into bookstores. And all of those things are great, but
hmm
we forget that there are organizations who want to invest in our books as well.
right,
And that is even true for fiction books.
right, right,
It doesn't have to be a children's book or a nonfiction how-to book. It can
right.
actually be a fiction book as well, because there is a specific audience for every book. So even no matter what type of book you have, you just have to find out who your audience is, which is why it's so important to
Mhm,
know who your audience is. Take some time to really figure out who your
mhm,
target audience is and
right.
where your target audience is, and then market to that target audience. Find out where they are, and then look for those organizations that market to those audiences.
Right, right. And sometimes it's you having I know people say don't do it, but sometimes you're having cold conversations with people or you're at a conference. One of the things that I love about, especially when you talk about fiction, is that you're playing in their imagination, you know? And so a lot of the books that I enjoy, like Lava in My Veins by Derek Barnes, you know, my son saw the advert on my phone, and for the entire, spring, he's like, "Did Lava in My Veins? Did Bobby Beacon come out yet?" And I was like, "Well, it's called Lava in My Veins, not yet." But when he was able to get it, he read a book about a young black boy who looked like him, who also was a superhero. And, well, not also. Well, yeah, my son is a superhero too, both of them. But he fell in love with the book. I mean, the boy, and he was a sixth grader, and that book is for like a second or a third grader. He kept on reading it. Why? Because Derek Barnes organized, well, not Derek Barnes, but his illustrator organized it like a what? A comic book. So as he keeps on reading it, he's like, it's almost like he's not reading the picture book, he's reading a comic book. But going back to it, knowing his audience, because I think I heard in an interview, Derek Barnes said he wrote that book because he didn't see his sons as superheroes when they were younger. So
Mhm.
now when I'm talking to parents and I'm selling that book or I'm selling it to educators, I'm like, it's about a little black boy who's a superhero, but it's really a book that you can use to talk about social emotional regulation. And you're like, really? I said, watch this part. They're like, oh, wow, gotta get it. I had one teacher buy the book and say I gotta buy another copy because the kids in my class always fight over it when it's time to read. So it's like, yes, you got to know
No
your market,
problem.
but at the same time, right, you have to understand the essence of what they want,
Yes.
because when we talk about selling books, again, I could tell you this book is great, but I need to be able to be an active listener to hear what you want. So when I remember this one guy said, I'm looking for a book, a white guy, he came up and said, I'm looking for a book for my niece. And I was like, okay, so tell me something about her. So he's talking, and my wife is listening. She's like, I got the book for her. She gives her Becoming Vanessa by Vanessa. I'm always forgetting her last name. But my wife gives him the book. He starts reading it. He said, this book about a little black girl, but this is my niece. You see? So it's the essence of what he wanted. He said she's eccentric. She's cutting edge. All of these different characteristics that he was describing. He's like, and that's in the book. So he purchased the book. So again, it's active listening, understanding the essence of what people want, not trying to sell this book that I have because I need to make this. I need to make the $20 right now, or however it
Mhm.
goes. It's like, no, I always tell people, I don't want to sell you anything that you don't want to buy. that doesn't speak to your child's dreams or the reading experience that you want to create in your home. Because when you see me, what are you going to say? Here come that snake salesman. He about to sell me some snake oil, you know? No, I'm good. No, I ain't got it today. I'll see you tomorrow. So I always say, look, if you don't want to buy anything, if this ain't for you, you tell me, and I guarantee you, next time I see you, I'll have that book that you're talking about that you wanted. So yeah, and
So,
and I and one thing that I also like to talk about is like going back to that intellectual work from the PhD. So I'm a part of this thing called the Op-Ed Project, where I'm a public voices fellow, where I'm able to talk about issues around books and talk about how books can help kids build their dreams, and also talk about issues related to education. So, in lack of better words, this is a this calling goes beyond, as I said before, selling books. Is educating. It's writing about how we change the world, how we inspire kids. It's talking about the issues that prevent kids from maximizing their full, what we say, dream potential.
so are you still reading as much as you were in the past? Like you said, you read like 2,000 books or whatever it is. Are you
Yeah.
still reading at that same pace?
Well, you know, that 2000 was like over like 3 years. But I do.
Okay.
Before we put any book on the table, we always read it. And so when I read it with the intent of saying, how does this book, one, speak to the dream categories? What type of kid is this book going to speak to very specifically? And then how can a parent, educated grandparent, how can they use this book? So I would say, because we sell books and we are at festivals, teaching conferences, that I'm always having to update myself. So maybe not 2000. It wasn't 2001 year or 800 within that summer to spring, but I would say it's about it's a lot. That's what I would say. It's a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes I got to reread books because I'm like, hey, I remember what that book was about. Let me see. Yeah, it's about one, two, or three. So sometimes I literally have to reread stuff. But to answer your question, I'm not at that pace because my sons are 13 and 11 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I still read a lot because, again, before we put a book on the table, we want to make sure that we understand how that book speaks to a child's needs, or the reading experience that their families want to create.
So is your bookstore's inventory exclusively children's books?
Yes, yes. We
Oh,
always
okay.
children's books. We have we go from what we say zero to like grade 5. We have a couple of graphic novels that are for middle school students. So we kind of play in that area, but not too much,
So
you know.
you
So
focusing more on the 0 to 12 in there, or
right,
maybe even 10.
right, 0 to 10.
Because
Yes, that's
if children are reading early, they will be lifelong readers. That's true. If you get
And
yeah,
that.
they'll stay readers if they start
Yeah,
reading early.
yeah,
I was reading for as long as I can remember, and I'm
yeah.
still reading.
you
Me
see
too.
that?
Me too. I don't even know where my mother got the books from, but we had them, and I was reading everything I could get my hands on as a little girl.
That's
So,
right.
mhm. So just some people have the bug, and then some have to be introduced. But
Right.
reading is fundamental. It's tied to everything else, whatever else you're going to major in or do for a living. The foundation is reading.
And I think that that's important because even when we look at some of our greatest heroes, they sat, they had to engage with a book. Like in Pittsburgh, August Wilson is, of course, not just a legend in Pittsburgh, but he's a legend across the world.
Yes.
Uh, we sell a children's book called Feed Your Mind, and his mother had him reading at an early age. So August Wilson drops out of school, and when he drops out of school, he goes to read books at our main library in Pittsburgh. And he would just read and read and read and read. So here goes a man who dropped out of school, but doesn't mean that he wasn't learned,
Right.
doesn't mean that he
Right.
wasn't an intellectual. And so one of the things that I always impress upon my sons and even the children who I read books to, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, if you want to make the world a better place, you want to pursue your dreams. Don't take my word for it. Go down, read it, a book, and beyond reading a book, be able to engage with the text so that you're just not consuming information,
You're
but
not
you
just
become
looking at the words.
right. You become creators of of a new world because that's essentially what August Wilson would do. He would hang out, read at the library, and then hang out in diners in Pittsburgh and listen to what people were saying, and hence he would create these amazing stories. And I'm thinking to myself, if August Wilson could do that, then all these little brown babies that walk up and down the streets of Pittsburgh, America, wherever, can do the same thing. And hence why, like you said, reading is so important. I always say reading is a process that help you build your dreams. And hence when you ask me, am I still reading? I have to, I got you. How can I, if I stop reading, that means I stop learning. That means I stop creating. And that's the whole goal. So when we talk about going back to when we talk about books, it's like, yeah, I could sell. If you want a book, I can sell you a book. But beyond that, the most important thing, if you only have one book, especially for kids, you only have one book or 4 or 5 books. I want that book to speak to who you can become, not
Yeah.
just a cheap alternative because I want to feel better about myself. So I give you a book. I give you a free book that I wouldn't even give to my own children. You feel me?
Yes. Yes.
Well, Dr. Griffin-El, we really appreciate you being on the show and your passion. Let the audience know where your bookstore is in Pittsburgh. So, in what area or what street or whatever for people who are
Yeah.
watching.
So our bookstore is fully online. So we're www.theyoungdreamersbookstore.com. And then we are mobile. So we pop up in different places across the city. And then we have a educational residency. We're the inaugural educational residency resident, educational residents at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center in Pittsburgh. So one Saturday out of each month, we hold what we call a Read to Dream program, which is basically a program where we read a book, we do an activity, and we inspire kids to see books as tools to build their dreams. And so we do that every month. And in fact, this upcoming Saturday, we'll have a Read to Dream experience at August Wilson from 11 till 2 o'clock.
Okay, for those out there in the Pittsburgh area, take note, take your children. And thank you so much again for being a guest on the show. And congratulations on you and your wife pursuing your dreams and building young dreamers.
Oh, thank you so much. And 25 minutes goes by too fast. You need to give it a whole 2 hours next time.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know you were going to be speaking like that. We could have given you a whole hour next time.
Next time I will wear my t-shirt too. But thank you so much, and it's an honor and pleasure.
For the future. We might do something. We might do some have a bookstore night and just have everybody with the bookstore. We'll think about it. You planted a seed. So
Amen.
anyway.
Amen.
All right. Have a great night.
You do the same. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, our final guest for tonight. They've both been on the show before, but tonight they are on because they are part of an anthology that was recently released called ROM-Complications, like a play on rom-com. So it's Naleighna Kai and J.L. Campbell. And there's some other people in the anthology too, some other authors, but I thought I would invite these two. One, because I know them because they've been on the show before, and will be a good representation for the other authors that are included. So welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV for both of you all.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Naleighna, you are always doing something like outside the box. Like so much of what you do is something that you don't really see other people doing. It's like you create your own lane for things. And you do so much with the literary agent work you do, and then you have authors that are under your umbrella for your publishing, and then you write books, and now you're part of this anthology. So, was it your brainchild, this anthology, or was it a collective effort? It sounds like Naleighna Kai to me, but
It actually was. I wanted to do something fun, something like we've been doing romantic suspense, and we've been doing thrillers and mysteries. So now, given the climate of where we are right now, I think we needed a little light, a little fun, a little romance, and combining that ROM-Complications, I thought was an amazing thing. And we have Stephen Barnes, who is who did the foreword. He doesn't write romantic comedy.
yeah, I was
But
going to ask about him. That was my question. How did he end up doing the foreword for a romance?
because did you read it? How he got his wife, How I Met My Wife.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, I've heard him talk about it.
yes.
Mhm.
And I thought it was very important to share that he was so intent. But it was, and when he's talking about the love he has for her, it is just, it's amazing. You know, he's always honoring her. He's always lifting her up. Even when he had an opportunity to do something for himself, he says, take care of my wife. I love that. And when he's always talking about the things that he does to self-correct um, in his process and in his thinking, I wanted to make sure that we included him because I think people needed to hear that story, and it was a good lead in for the rest of the stories.
Oh, okay. We had them together one year at the book festival. It
Yeah.
was the year before the pandemic.
Mm.
So we wanted to bring them. We had Tanana read by herself before, but we wanted to bring them there together. So that was a real treat.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
So Joy, JL, how did you get involved in the project?
Lisa, of course. She always encourages us to be doing something all the time and to be adding to our backlist, because our backlists are so important. You know, if something blows up today, people are going to want to know more about you, more about what you write. And so, you know, Lisa, Naleighna she's always thinking. She is like, yeah, we call her the Energizer Bunny. That's one of the names we have for her. So
What hasn't she done?
that is it. That is it. And so she always encourages us to stay busy and to keep adding to what we do, you know, so that we never become stale and that we're always honing our skills and, you know, developing our talent. So that's how I became involved.
And that's my thought process. You're either green and growing or ripe and rotten.
Well, that's a good way to put it. And you definitely live by that. Now, name some of the other authors that are in the book.
Oh, so ones that you know, Pat George Walker. We have some newbies in there as well that have been around for a minute, that have been on the literary scene, but not as authors. We have Roy Slade Morton. She is one of the members of the Sweet Soul Sisters. Rhonda, you know, book club on the East Coast. So she got a chance to write something fun. And Clay has been around for a while, since the back 25, 26 years. So we got her to write a little bit, as well as, of course, J.L. Campbell. Pat George J. Walker, I think I mentioned her, but, you know, comedy is her thing. And, you know, for a minute, she stopped writing. And we were the ones that helped to get her back into writing. And she's written 3 pieces since then, and she's working on a 4th. You know, when she lost her husband, that was the love of her life.
Right.
And she shut down, and getting her back into it too. She's so excited. She is the oldest member of our tribe, the elder of our tribe, and she stays on top of it more than some of the youngsters in the tribe. I'm very, very, very proud of her. We also have Tracy Finley. She writes thrillers, and she was in that group of people who wrote with Taryn Fisher, Colleen Hoover. She came out in that crowd of people. But I challenged her to do something different. And of course, romantic comedy is different. And it was interesting that when I started representing her as agent, the thriller she wrote kind of was like on the Gone Girl and that kind of side. And we weren't getting any bites for a minute, because people have kind of evolved since that kind of writing came about. And I said, so what else you got? And she says, well, I got a romantic comedy sitting around. And I said, well, let's dust it off and put it out there. We've had a lot more interested in her romantic comedy, more bites, more enthusiasm. And so now by doing this anthology, she kind of builds a platform of people who are going to be interested in her romantic comedy when it comes out. We also have, hold on, I think I missed somebody, Daryl Benally. He is a Navajo. He lives on the reservation in Gallup, New Mexico. And this was his first attempt. He writes the more serious stuff. He's a very serious guy with a wicked sense of humor. But in his writing, this romantic comedy is set on the Navajo reservation. And it gives us a glimpse of it and the experiences growing up. And the humor is so spot on. It's amazing. Did I leave anybody out? Oh, Marie Higgins.
Okay.
And she writes Westerns mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
she's in there. She's, wanted her to tip into the lighter side too.
Okay. Well, I think it's a great project to, you have to keep innovating, like you said.
Mhm.
And you are correct about the backlist being so important. My first book came out 18 years ago, and it still sells. I'm not promoting it, but people read some of my other work, and then I guess they find it somehow. So every month I sell copies, and so and my other books too. It's interesting to see what people buy. So you just never know how they're going to respond to whatever topic you have out there. Most of my books are nonfiction, except for I do multi-genre work. I write what I have a passion for at the time. So that's where my work is. And I'm self-published. So my books are all over the place in terms of topics, but they're all things I'm passionate about. So none of them are boring because of my passion, even my two novels, the passion is in there too. So now, Naleighna, catch us up on like some of what you've been doing.
How much time we got? I'm just joking.
Well, that's why I said catch us up, because I think it's been a couple of years since I talked to you about what you were doing. So, and then you were starting to do more agency stuff, I think. But you do a lot. So, it's important to stay busy, and you do.
Indeed. We have actually 4 anthologies coming out this year. Another one is Word to Your Mother. And that is a Mother's Day anthology. Actually, it was released last Tuesday. So Word to Your Mother, as well as Dance with My Father. So we have two anthologies that are Mother's Day anthology, a Father's Day anthology. And it was interesting because at the beginning, I was really worried about the Father's Day because everybody wanted to talk about mothers, but I was having a hard time getting people who wanted to talk about fathers. And also they're so different. Even my son did the covers. They're just amazing. And the Mother's Day one was humorous, inspirational, and uplifting. Well, I wanted the same for the Father's Day one, but I guess people don't consider fathers all that funny. So we've got the inspiration and the motivation there, but not as much humor as I would like, but there are some funny elements. We also have a romantic suspense anthology releasing in June. So it happened April, May, June. And it went like that. So that back to back, and they're all platforms that help some debut authors to establish a platform, as well to get a little taste. I've learned for writing fiction, we were doing a lot of writing challenges, and we were doing a lot of 30-day, write your book in 30 days, or, that sort of thing. I found that people who came with books already written, it took a longer time for them to understand the process. So now anybody coming, I have them start from scratch with something new and learn the process on a short story and then expand it, and they get it, and they're more successful at writing it that way. But also too, sometimes people don't want to commit to an entire book, especially of people that they've never heard of. So giving them a little taste of new people in between people that they are familiar with, it's a great way to go, because they've spent, and the anthologies are only 99 cents. Only 99 cents, because it really is more about getting that taste out there, and the marketing and promotion. Like, you contacted us to do that. I mean, this is gold. You've been established. Kush City has been established before I even started writing. So to be on this platform telling people about these authors and about the anthologies is an amazing marketing opportunity. So, but what else have I been up to? The Cavalcade of Authors is in its 22nd year.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, when is that? When is it?
September 11th through the 13th. And we're partnered up with the Printers Row Lit Fest, which has been around for 41 years. And that brings 50,000 to 100,000 people over a 2-day period. And when I tell you, I've done it before, it can be very overwhelming. But my focus for the Cavalcade is shifted over the last few years. My focus is on giving the opportunity for authors to make a return on their investment. Because sometimes they go to, and they fly, they have the hotel, the participation fee, then the books. They spend all of that money, and then they don't make their money back. If you can't garner enough attention between 50,000 and 100,000 people over a 2-day period, what can I tell you? But it's also my responsibility to get people to the tent. So we've got some things to keep people coming back. And plus, it's rain or shine. So what happens if it rains? We have a private event that's still open to the public on Friday night, indoors, so that we make our money off the top in the beginning, and everything we make on that Saturday and Sunday is just gravy.
Okay, now where is it held?
Chicago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I cover my own backyard. Now, we are doing some things in other cities. Come out and play with the tribe during the Royal Book Bash in Annapolis, Maryland. We're doing one during the Indie Authors Unite event in Baton Rouge. What I do is, if there's an event on a Saturday, I will capture the Friday night. Since they don't have anything going on Friday night, I use my platform on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, and I say, hey, who lives in Baton Rouge? Hey, who lives in what's XYZ? And we connect with people who are already familiar with us, and they help to spread the word about the event. And they come out and play spades, bid whist, sorry, Monopoly, all these other different games. And it's about having fun. We may tip a little in the glass a little bit. We don't tell nobody about that. I'm just saying. But that's what it's about, doing unique things. And then we're also connecting with Brenda Jackson's event in Peoria, the Raw event. Shea Baby, the House of Bohannon, is doing something in Peoria. So we will be there. Several tribe members will be doing a book signing down there. So I'm connecting with more events. Book Lovers Con, we just did that in Vegas. And it's been around for years. The showrunner, Jo Carroll, she is going to probably make her debut at Printers Row next year, because that is a large hall of readers, 50,000 to 100,000 people. So she wants to come through, and there's enough room for everybody. So I've had a meeting giving her what advice I could, and she's always supported the Cavalcade. And that's the way I've always thought. We help each other in this, and everybody succeeds.
Yes, you're right. Something that you were saying about I saw your pictures from was it Book Lovers Con?
Book Lovers Con.
I saw some pictures that you posted online from that, whenever it was, recently. I saw some recent
March,
pictures.
end of March. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I saw those. So I'm aware of that. But you are right. it's good to be able to work with other authors, and do things together, travel together. I have a group that I work with that we do that. Rhonda is going to be in Texas for the Texas Book Festival, which is a big statewide event in Austin. They have about 30,000 people that come, and it's been around it's well established. It's been around for 30 years or something like that. So we this will be our third year going to that. And it's after the National Black Book Festival, so I get a chance to rest for a couple of weeks before having to go to Austin. Joy, give us an update on what you've been doing. You're included in the anthology, but do you have a recent release of your own under your own name? And what is it? What's the title? And just give us an update on what you've been, because I think it's been maybe 3 years since you've been on the show. I want to
Yes,
say.
it was probably 2 to 3 years, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in this anthology. That's what I spent time doing, a little earlier this year, just getting my story all together. Because my hero was mentioned briefly in another story that I had written before. And so I kind of brought him out, dusted him off, and put him in his own story. I have not done much this year. The last thing I did was for Christmas. And I am basically preparing for the next book, which is with Black Odyssey, which comes out in May, end of May, and that's another thriller. So,
Okay.
and aside from that, I'm kind of preparing for that as best I can. I'm
Sorry, what's the name
also
of that book?
Murder by the Book.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Yes,
I like the title.
Yes. So good feedback so far, by the way. And yeah, we're just hoping for the best, and I'll do what I can to kind of push it as much as possible. I'm also going to be I'm still working on my story for the next anthology, the one that comes out in June. So I'm hard at work on that one. And aside from doing my own writing and preparing, whatever our marketing plan is, I do I do a little bit of editing as well. So that,
Okay.
in between everything, that keeps me busy.
Now, Lisa / Naleighna.
That's say Lisa. I get it because you've been hanging tough. I'm like, she's struggling, but she's trying. So I'm gonna
She
give you
is
that.
trying. You
I
got to
know.
give her credit for that.
I know people they could get caught up in the way it looks and not the way it sounds. Like Elaine, Naleighna.
Naleighna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they
Naleighna.
see the spelling of it and they think all sorts of everything,
Yeah, well, I've said it enough times. Once you told me that in the original interview, like 4 or 5 years ago, because you were on one of our early, maybe
Yes.
2021, maybe, and then you were on again another time.
Yep.
But it's been
Right
a
before
couple
I
of
came
years.
to the event
Yes.
in Houston. Yep.
Yeah, it's been a couple of
My
years.
son says, you guys got to move that towards the city a little bit so some more folks come, because he's like, we drive all the way out there to the church. That's fine and all, but come on, bring it in, bring it home, bring it up there near Harold's Chicken up there in the gym in some places. I'm just joking.
Well, one thing about Houston is very big. It's
Is.
also very segmented. It's not like most major cities where everything is basically central.
Yeah.
The part of town where we had the event is like self-contained almost. And anything downtown, well, closer in, which is what he's talking about, people are going to have to pay the part. The cost of the facility is going to be astronomical. We've been there before in the earlier years. We've already done it. And then we have to charge people to come in. And so then it really becomes we want the people to spend the money with the authors and not before they walk in the door.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But something else that you mentioned about people who participate in the anthology and they come to you with the story that's already written, and it's like they're kind of stuck. It's probably because they're so wedded to, especially if it took them a long time to write it.
Not for the anthologies. I'm talking about just writing in general.
In general, okay.
Which is why we do short stories to give people.
To
I've
get
done
them
it. We had
Mhm.
several groups in the tribe. We had Namaste tribe, and they was like, nah, I'ma stay. I'm joking. But we had different names, Namakir, Namaste, all of these different things.
I get it. Nah, I'ma
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, nah. And that group, and out of the five, and out of all 5 groups, that was the one that was the most stagnant because number one, they all came with books that they had previously written.
Mhm.
Everybody else came with, nothing else, and they were
open.
starting the process.
Mhm.
So we were trying to revamp and get this in shape and get it into the formulas. If it was romance, if it was mystery, if it was thriller, it was a harder process. They were the late, and we're talking about 5 years later, still finishing up one of them. Right now, that's how long it takes, because when somebody is, like you were saying, married to a text, it's hard to get them to fashion them. But if they're starting from scratch, then let them go back and rework. But let that be the first part of the process. It was harder. But all of the anthologies, first it was 3,000 words. Then we say, okay, we'll let you have 5,000. Some of them end up, because we didn't have 20 people in the anthology, we let them go up to 7,000, 10,000, but they built on what was already there. And the story stayed tighter, and it was really good. Then when I looked at the page count at the end, I was like, shoot, man, this is a big book. But there were really good stories. So good that I think Royce is new to writing, Royce Slade Morton. Her story, her first time writing fiction at all. She's an avid reader though, and that was a good help. She wrote her story in 3 weeks and expanded it based on her experiences in the Air Force. And her story was so good, our beta reader said that her book should be the first one in the anthology. Coming out the gate. And, I feel like a, proud literary grandmama. So her book is the first one. Her story is the first one in the anthology.
Royce is awesome because she's supportive, and I feel like because she is such a supportive reader and an avid reader, she knows what to look for. And I think that probably fed into her being a great writer.
Yes. And she was but she was also very open. If she threw me something in narrative, I'm like, and I would throw it back and say, no, I need a scene. What I got back that next morning was the dialogue, the movement, everything. She wanted to get the process. And if we had more time, but I think because we didn't have more time, she was Johnny on it. I mean, on the spot, just whoa. I was very impressed. Every time I read it and she added something new, I said, she's really getting the process. She's really, really, really getting it. And I was so proud. And I realized that somebody in that short amount of time could do it. 3 weeks, 9,000 words. Just imagine if she was writing a full story. She would take a few months starting out the gate. And that's an amazing thing.
And that's so common. So anyway, Naleighna, JL, Joy, Lisa. Thank you for being guests on Black Authors Matter TV. Congratulations on the anthology, this one, and all the other ones you have coming out for Mother's Day, Father's Day, and the other one, I forgot what it was for, but it's in June as well. So congratulations. Now people can pick up these anthologies anywhere books are sold. It's on Kindle. It's on the ebook.
It's
right?
on ebooks.
I did put the link in the chat so people can click the link and purchase the book.
ROM-Complications.
Okay. You're asking me to do that, or are you going to swing and do it?
No, Rhonda's already.
I put the link in the chat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Phew. I'm like, where am I going to get a link? I have to go. Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering why you look troubled.
I'm like, man, she want to put me to work. I'm trying to look cute here. I got my red lipstick and everything. I got my little nasty little shirt on and got my hair did and all that. I'm just like, I'm supposed to be looking cute. I'm not supposed to be working.
No, you're good, girl. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, Rhonda's on top of that stuff. She takes care of it. So,
And also, could you put that link in for Joy's book, the one that Murder by the Book, and then
I'll find it and put it in there.
Murder by the Book, and then her Flames of Wrath. Oh my God, that book was fire. You see what I did there?
okay, yeah, play on words.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again to both of you all for being guests on the show. Congratulations. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you in the coming months and years.
Indeed. Thank you so much, and hope to see you in person soon. So,
Okay, I'm sure we will. We're going to run into each other. All
Many
right.
thanks. Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
night.
okay, thank
You
you.
too.
Bye-bye now.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's the end of our show for this week. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we have already started the voting for the Black Authors Matter TV Awards. So if you haven't already voted, you can start anytime, but it started last night at midnight, 12:01, and it ends on April 28th. And then the award show is on May 12th. So that's it for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday for another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.